And this is under development right now. We hope to have this released sometime this spring, and you can see the products included here at the bottom of the slide. Next slide, please. So this is a second lesson we have currently in development. It focuses on a severe wind and flooding event that affected the Guam and Mariana Islands region in 2020. And so this is another one where it takes the learner through the sequence of the event, pulling in different satellite products at different times so that the learner can practice interpreting them and getting through various forecast challenges. This is another one we hope to have out this spring. It is in the process of wrapping up now. And again, you can see the main satellite products we've included at the bottom of the slide. And next slide. So other things we are working on, these top 4 here are things we also have in progress. There's a lesson focused on volcanic ash and sulfur dioxide. It's being done in coordination with some NWS aviation training work we have ongoing at COMET, and we hope to have that one maybe late spring or this summer. We have just started on a very short online training, maybe like a video overview for satellite use in nowcasting. And that is meant to provide a prerequisite and support some work and upcoming workshops with our South America colleagues. We have another short overview of satellite ocean other color capabilities in progress. And again, these are things that we have started work on and are hoping to turn them around by early summer. And then we are just kicking off another case exercise looking at the post-extratropical transition of Typhoon Merbok and how satellite products can help with assessing the impacts that happened in the maritime and coastal Alaska region associated with that storm. At the bottom here, I've got a list of 5 training topics that we are currently vetting and working on prioritizing for what's next in terms of 2024. I actually have a link to a Google poll. It would be great to get input from this group as far as your thoughts on how to prioritize those topics. So I will share that in the chat. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's all I had. I will put my email in the chat as well so that you can follow up if you have any additional questions. Thank you, Hilcia, for running the slides. And thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Amy, for your presentation. We will leave the discussions for later, right? So let's move to the next presentation. Brock?
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Brock Blevins. I'm a training coordinator for NASA's Applied Remote Sensing Training Program. I put in the chat my email address. Please feel free to contact me if any of these trainings that I'm present that we're gonna pull off before the end of October this year. This is our work plan, and also the URL for our training webpage where you can find out about these trainings. But the ARSET program, we have about 16 to 18 trainings per year. Most of them are online, although we're getting back to the in-persons. And these are the themes in which we conduct our trainings as far as the applications that we feature. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to briefly run through and give you just a high-level view of the trainings that we have coming up. One that starts next week is a 3-part training, Impact of Lightning on Fire and Electrical Outage Risk. It's a 3-part training focusing on global and regional lightning data products for an application for disasters related to wildfires, severe weather, or power outages. We have another one coming up in the disasters theme on Earth observations for humanitarian applications. This is a follow-on to one that we had 2 years ago. We're working with CDAC and a lot of great organizations that have good experience managing humanitarian camps around the globe. So this is going to be focused on measuring flood risk in particular in refugee settings, gauging long-term heat stress in the refugee camps, and tracking drought effects on agricultural landscapes. So that one's going to be in June, and it's lining up with World Humanitarian Day on June 20th. And then another one we have later on this summer is a follow-on to our SARS series. This one is going to be on disasters, in particular disasters that we're going to feature for this one. We'll be looking at earthquake damage, flood extent, and its impacts, and vegetation impacts due to natural hazards. And then the next one here, the little symbols there, it's sort of a crossover. It's agriculture and water. You can't really separate the two. This one just finished 2 days ago. We partnered with John Deere to work to present this training. If you go to the training webpage, you'll see that on the recent trainings that just happened, for all these trainings in the past as well, the recordings, the exercises, the presentations, transcripts of the Q&A are all right there for anybody to self-pace through. So this really focused on machine learning, but for agricultural solutions. It was wonderful. They provided all kinds of great code, and it was really, how do you handle big data sets when it comes to machine learning for agriculture and crop identification and monitoring. Another one, crossover between disasters and water, is an advanced training on drought. So this one is going to occur in July, and it'll build upon previous ones that we had, and it's going to provide hands-on data analysis experience for different types of drought, being meteorological, hydrological, and agricultural. Next slide, please. We have one on hyperspectral data on water quality. That's going to be in September. This one is going to be a 3-parter, maybe actually 4-parter. Some of these ones that are a little bit later on in the year, we have the plan, but we're just working out the specifics on the actual dates. So that's why I just put the month of September, and then how we're going to divvy up the agenda. Sometimes things are a little bit in flux at this point for later on in the year. But it'll talk about past and current hyperspectral data products, and it's going to provide information from hopefully the PACE mission, fingers crossed, and their data products and different web tools to access said data. And then climate is a training topic that we've been addressing for the last few years. We're doing usually 3 per year. So we have one coming up in July on carbon dioxide measurements. That's going to be a 4-parter. We have one coming up on blue carbon ecosystems in August or September. We have done trainings on monitoring mangroves in the past, but this one we're really going to tie it down to accounting of blue carbon in the ecosystems. And then we're partnering with the NASA's Greenhouse Gas Center on one for monitoring methane for climate applications. So 2 of the big invisible gases that we need to be tracking and monitoring, methane and carbon dioxide. We're really excited about these. Next slide, please. Okay, and then in our conservation theme, we have one coming up on invasive species. So this one, I believe, is going to, they typically are 3-parters. They're usually like an hour and a half each one. And they're usually like every Tuesday in whatever month it happens to be in. We're going to be focusing on Google Earth Engine to present the data and code. And it's going to just an overview of NASA satellite data for mapping invasive species using Landsat, MODIS, VIIRS. If you are interested in ecological conservation or restoration, this would be one for you. And then we have a hands-on that we're partnering with the Bioskate team. There's an airborne campaign down in South Africa. So we're working with partners down there in Cape Town for an in-person training about 4 days long in October. And this is a follow-on from an online training that we did in Bioscape last year. And then finally, we have a ground-based measurements in air quality in August. It's going to be a 4-part series working with the 4 different ground-based networks that we have here at NASA and connecting that with the satellite observations. And then we have another one on air quality applications, and this is more of a fundamentals. So we have a learning management system that we're finally getting into and populating with different courses. In particular, there'll be one on fundamentals of air quality, and then we're going to have a precursor to that, fundamentals of remote sensing in general, really opening up the widening the on-ramp for anybody who is not that familiar with remote sensing, in particular those who aren't technicians. Someone who's a decision maker or a policy maker. We're really trying to make these palatable to those to understand and trust the data that's coming out without having to actually work with the data itself. So a lot of analysis ready data, things that can be used hopefully operationally in their work. And that is my last slide. If anybody sees topics that overlap with ones that you're doing, we are very open to co-production. So as I mentioned, some of these agendas are still coming together on some of these, and there's still room to work with others and join forces to create a better outcome. So thank you very much for your time.
And the aim of this group is to see the overlaps, right? And I see that you're also doing like hybrid, like follow up online and then follow up in person.
Yeah, it's kind of a way to get some interest in an area and then follow on and really dive deep. And it's kind of by design, but it's also opportunistic whenever it comes around.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, thank you. So let's move to the next presentation. Martin Philipson from ESA, please.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Great. Okay, hello, everyone. My name is Martin Philipson, and I work at the European Space Agency, specifically within Earth observation, training, and education. And today I'll talk a little bit about our work plan and the materials that we're working on here in 2024. It's not a comprehensive review because it wouldn't really be relevant. So firstly, I want to talk about the EO College MOOCs that we're working on alongside the University of Jena. And these are online courses that are free for everyone. And particularly this year, we have a couple of different series. EO College in general, I would really recommend for online courses. There's series on hyperspectral, a series on science, series on optical remote sensing. And this is our series here called Land and Focus, and it focuses on land remote sensing using optical data. And this year we are working on creating new content for this series of MOOCs. Particularly, you can see there are 8 MOOCs, and making the experience more streamlined rather than being very sort of split up, increasing the user adaptability, and adding new content based on a user survey. For our SAR MOOC series, Echoes in Space, we are adding new content on XL and P-band SAR and multi-frequency. And we're also adding information about the use of SAR data from EOS-4, which is a SAR satellite from the Indian Space Agency, as well as CONAI SAR data, because ESA has started a partnership with them on sharing on the, let me get it right. Okay, so with CONAI SAR data, you can get access to ESA data from anywhere in the world through ESA. Sorry, CONAI data through ESA. and except over Europe, in which case you have to go through ARSET, the Italian Space Agency. That's always fun with different contracts and how they work. And lastly, we have just released a new MOOC a couple of weeks ago, and it is on open data science and Earth observation, cloud computing, and data cubes, because these sorts of very machine learning and computer science heavy topics are something that our students request quite a lot, and they can also be kind of confusing to get into. So hopefully this will give a good introduction to people who are not familiar. Secondly, I want to highlight this training here we're doing this summer. Thank you for editing June to July. July 14 to 17 in Chania, Greece. It's the transatlantic training number 11 that ESA is doing with NASA. And it's an Earth observation training course for master's, PhD level students in remote sensing. And the series has a focus on land remote sensing. And because this year will be in Greece, we're mainly focusing on natural disasters, particularly earthquakes and forest fires. Greece was hit by a lot of forest fires last year, so this is particularly relevant for the area. And alongside methods, particularly focusing on machine learning, AI, and the use of Python and Jupyter Notebook, because those are skills that the students find they rate very highly. Then I want to highlight here, which is work we just finished now, I believe it was last week, which is the complete implementation of the educational mode on EO Browser. EO Browser is an in-browser platform that ESA created alongside the company Synergies, and it is to access and visualize and quickly analyze satellite data from a range of satellites within your browser completely for free. You don't need to log in. And it contains the entire Sentinel library, the Landsat library. It has MODIS data. It's got DEMs as well. And so it's very quick for you to go in and visualize using the built-in band ratios or your own custom code or band ratios or RGB images. The education mode was made to essentially simplify this entire platform, because with the number of options, it can be quite overwhelming. And so particularly for high school students or new university students or people at that level, the educational mode lets you choose a specific topic that you're interested in, say wildfires, and then it limits the number of satellites that you have to click between, so you don't choose Sentinel-3 data for wildfires, for example. And then it gives you visualizations that are custom-made and specific for that topic, alongside highlights that will give you examples of that topic in different parts of the globe. Alongside this, we've introduced some features that you can see on screen currently. If you draw a line on the map, you now get an elevation profile of the area. You can get, there's a quick, literally one-click button to create a time series for any of these indices. So let's say you draw your area on the map, and then you get an NDVI time series using Sentinel-2 data for the past 6 years. You can also create a histogram for the area to see the average values, and you can also use a spectral explorer so you can see with the different bands what it looks like and compare that to common surface types like water, ground, vegetation, and so on. And all of this data can be exported to Excel, so you can make your own visualizations and continue using it. So again, this platform, it's completely free to use. You can create time lapses. You can show any of these visualizations. You can be shown in 3D, sort of Google Earth style. So if you want to fly around the Earth in false color, you can do that as well. And lastly here, just to give you a general training overview as to what ESA is doing and our general plan. Overall, we are focusing more here, still after COVID, we're focusing more on MOOCs and online trainings for anything shorter or for a more general audience. Whereas for our advanced audiences, think PhD students or professionals, we make sure that our longer courses are always held in person, because the networking aspect is very valued by everyone doing the courses, but perhaps also more important compared to a bachelor level course. Definitely, we're continuing to focus more on the use of machine learning and cloud computing, because those are skills that the students are always asking of us. And furthermore, we're doing cooperations with CONAI and ISRO on the sharing of polarimetric SAR data, and we'll be doing training courses later this year that have not been announced yet. And similarly, we're doing a training course webinar series on PolInSAR with DLR, also yet to be announced. Great. Thank you for your time. I saw there's a question, but I assume we'll do that during the discussion afterwards.
Yes, let's leave the questions for later. Thank you very much, Martin.
Great.
So
Thank
I
you.
see that your MOOCs are going very well. How many students do you usually, are you having like thousands of students still?
So the MOOCs, just by the nature of this series being continuously online, I know for a fact that the SAR MOOC we have on Radar has had over 16,000 users, which is fantastic because you can't reach that type of those numbers in person. But obviously over time it slows down as we're not actively advertising it. So I'm very curious to see, once we implement these new changes, what that'll look like.
Wow. All right, thank you. So now let's move to Martina. You college, please. You want me to handle the slides for you, Martina?
No, fine. Looking only for the unmute button. So thank you very much on behalf of the EO College Uni Jena in Germany for this opportunity to present the EO College activities. I think Martin already covered a huge part of EO College activities, so I will try to focus to save some time on some new information. So first of all, I would like to give you some background on EO College. The EO College started in 2017. We have already more than 32,000 registered users. And as Martin right now mentioned, we have really like yearly thousands of people finishing the MOOCs on our platform. And we have more than 1.8 million page views of our platform. It is supported by ESA and DLR. Maybe just to add additional information to the courses that Martin mentioned, the one on land in focus or land monitoring. We have plenty of courses focused on radar remote sensing. We have also courses focused on hyperspectral remote sensing. These courses are developed by GFC Institute here in Germany, in Potsdam, and we are hosting it and also responsible for technical implementation of those courses. The highlight is the course that Martin mentioned, the new one just published, freely available on data cubes and clouds. I think it could be very interesting for many of you. It's course on learning the theory behind cloud platforms, data cubes, and open policy, and also hands-on and applying the knowledge by processing and validating the results. So we tried to implement the concept from learn, understand, and then apply, to have all those three aspects within the course. I would like to also say a few words on our priorities and themes this year. So as you all are aware, AI plays right now a significant role, and also in education. So we are currently investigating and testing how we could use AI in education for educational purposes. And we will be happy to share in this gremium our results and how we would like to implement it, and not only using AI to translate the materials into different languages. This is, I think, one of the first straight away ideas how to use it, but we can also generate voices also, and not only translate it into different language in writing, but also in audio. But we can also use it to help us plan the adapted learning, for example, for users on different educational level. We are also putting focus on collaboration. So we are involved in this is European initiative and project Space for Geo and the project Space Suite on skills development and closing the gap between the what is needed and what is looked for in the market in terms of Earth observation, skills in Earth observation, and also in broader context in space-related fields in general. We are also part of EOTEC DevNet and also active in CEO's WGCAP-T. We are focusing and right now working on a new training related to radar remote sensing. We are in the process of conception and implementation of training event. After 10 years of conducting this course in German, we would like to next year provide this general radar remote sensing course for a broader audience in English, and probably if we will be successful in implementing AI, maybe also other languages, but this is still in a conception plan. And as I already presented, just want to highlight again our courses on our platform. So next to or beside the radar remote sensing courses and courses focused specifically on land monitoring, we have also courses focused on sustainable development goals, and we are focusing on goal number 2, zero hunger. So how we can use Earth observation to deal with with the problem of hunger on our planet. We have also courses related to machine learning, or as I already mentioned, hyperspectral applications. And the new one, but under right now negotiations, disaster management and mapping. So with that, I will conclude and give floor back to you, Hilsa. Thank you.
Thank you, Martina. Very much, very interesting. I had my internet down, but I could watch most of your presentation. And it's interesting. That's something I would like to comment later, but these new topics that students seems to be more interested related to AI, machine learning, big data, and everything else. Okay, I think now I will present a little bit of our plans for 2024 from SELPER Brazil. Yes, okay. Well, we are a non-profit organization, and really we are a chapter in Brazil from SELPER International, which is now being coordinated by Fabiola, that most of you must know. She's the president now of SELPER International, which is in Mexico. But then this year we'll have an event here in Brazil, in Belém, in November, and then we will be the presidents of SELPER Brazil, SELPER 2, the international SELPER, for 2 years. So mostly we have these online courses. Since the pandemics, we didn't move back to in-person courses. So we still have been offering these, but in our case, we charge for the courses because this is a kind of resource for our organization. So we have in Geobia, we have introduction to, they are all in Portuguese. Introduction to geoprocessing using TerraView, which is KGs. TerraView is a software from INPE. We also have image processing in remote sensing, programming in remote sensing, and we have a new one on Google Earth Engine. This is the very demanding, not very demanding. People are very interested. This is being the most raising the most interest among students. But we charge for the courses because we need to pay for the instructors and this kind of stuff. And when I presented for EOTEC, I think last year, I raised this desire that we wanted to have partnerships maybe in Spanish with our colleagues teaching courses in Spanish. So this is something that we would like to offer and to collaborate. Okay, next, please. And these are the events we plan to support this year. Actually, there was one. This first one was in February. It already happened from 26th to 28th February. It was about the photogrammetry and remote sensing in the semi-arid environment. It was in Recife, the northeast of Brazil. But then we are also supporting these 3 other events. First, this 11th International Carbon Dioxide Conference. It's going to be in Manaus, the north, 29th July and 2nd of August. And these 2, I'm going to put the link on the chat. These 2 we are calling the Symposium International SELPER and ISPRS Technical Commission 3 Remote Sensing. We are calling 2024 event in Belém because they are going to be 2 symposia plus some other parallel sessions and workshops. So I'm going to put the link here so you can check, because we're also planning workshops and like tutorials for the first day, and there's going to be some plenary sessions together in English. The Symposium International SELPER is going to be Portuguese and Spanish, but this ISPRS is going to be in English. And we're going to be at the same place in University of Pará in Belém from November 4th to 8th. And there's also a plan for this GeoInfo, that's the Brazilian Symposium on Geoinformatics. It always happens in December. And we have also a plan for this event next year, 2025, in Foz do Iguaçu, Paraná, Latin America. It's a combination of 2 big societies, GRSS, IEEE GRSS, and ISPRS. It's a big conference we have started organizing. So these are the big the events we're gonna share. We're gonna support. So let me put here first the link to our training. It's in Portuguese, but you can take a look. Mainly people from the Americas, maybe you're interested in collaborating with us. And these are the event the symposium in Belém. Okay, great. That's it, thank you. So now I think we go to the discussions about the presentations we just had. I have a couple of comments myself, and I have some questions so we can maybe direct the discussions. And maybe, Ari, you could help with the questions we had on the chat because I couldn't follow. Okay. All right. So let me see here. What's interesting for us to discuss about all these initiatives and plans? How do you develop your plan? How are training priorities determined? So I have heard you saying that this or that course is more people ask for them. So it is kind of a needs assessment. And I believe this is something that we're going to discuss in another opportunity. But how do you see this? How do you choose the areas, the courses you teach, based on what people tell you on feedbacks, or just intuitively?
Was that a question to all of us?
All of you, yeah. Yes, just to hear from your experience.
Yeah, we rely on our surveys that we send right after the training, as well as a year later, to see if they're actually using the data in their work. And we're always including ways to capture what they want next. So new topics is where we get a lot of that. So we're really trying to serve the needs of what's being asked for. Also new missions, of course, and then opportunities that may arise, going to conferences, going to end user meetings, really trying to get enveloped in what is being asked for and needed, or problems they're trying to solve. So that's how we do it at ARSET.
Okay, great. Martina, any inputs from you?
Yes, I dropped a link in the chat. So much the same when we're at conferences or have these types of opportunities to interact with stakeholders and users of satellite products in different settings. We want to hear from all of you. And so I dropped a link in the chat to a poll we have open right now. It is 3 questions helping rank the training topics I showed at the end of the presentation, and asking for a little bit of additional information if you would all like to share some thoughts with us, and we would love to get input from this group.
Hi, Amy. When I try to open the poll, it says you need permission.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I will check on that.
Okay. Martin, would like to comment on that? Martina?
I just wanted to give over to Martin because we collaborate very closely with DLR and ESA in specifying the topic. So please, Martin.
Sure. So to talk a little bit about it, I guess we're in a fairly unique situation at ESA. When we do Earth observation training, we are pretty much always collaborating with universities or other institutions. And so often they are specific requests from their side. So say a university somewhere in Europe will come to us and say, we are interested in doing a training on, it's typically radar remote sensing, because that's the area that they often don't have the expertise themselves. And then what we do is that we then put together a course, and we put together a curriculum and host it together with them. using okay, I'm not saying using professors, but thanks to professors from universities that we often partner with, or professors that we are familiar with in the community, or even other institutions in sales, for example, or it could be EOTEC DevNet, who can then help us put together these trainings. And so the specific topics and how we tailor those, it's often a combination of the university themselves coming with certain areas, say we're in, or we kind of help do it for them. So, for example, we did a training in Croatia, and we did that in collaboration with the Croatian Ministry of Education. And so, in putting together the course, we looked at what sort of topics within Earth observation are most relevant in Croatia. So, say their coastline, for example, so landslides, coastal erosion, forestry, agriculture. There's a certain number of topics that would be more relevant for them. And so, when we put together the training, we then can go in and sort of do all the hard work of, getting in contact with people, collaborating with professors, putting together materials, that sort of thing. So I'm well aware that that's not how most institutions work, just by the nature that often when we're doing the training, essentially we're not doing the trainings, we're not doing the actual teaching ourselves, that we're very much organizing.
Okay. I saw that COMET MET has a free accessible online training, and also the EO College, I believe NASA ARSET also has. So this is a personal question for you. Do you think people go there to access the online material to revisit, or they are accessing the courses themselves?
Can you ask that again? I'm sorry.
Do you think people go back to this access at the lessons that are available online? Do you think they go back there to watch themselves? Do you think it is a valuable course? Or they go to the links only to maybe register to the courses and go to do the courses, take the courses themselves?
Yeah, we see a lot of activity. So we post all these on a NASA YouTube channel, and then we're able to track some metrics as far as views over the course of a year, and more eyes are seeing them after the fact than in the training itself, which is nice. So if anybody has it within them to self-pace through the training, the only thing you're missing out on is the chance to ask live questions at the end, but the rest is right there for you to go through on your own. But we always provide contact details, and all of our trainers and guest presenters have no problems with someone reaching out and asking them specific questions based on their presentation. So we do see a lot of people go back. I think we have like 60 available.
Yeah, from ESA's side, we also often link to ARSET trainings, mainly because we don't do that many sort of dedicated agriculture trainings. And so the format and the way the materials are being presented on the ARSET website are pretty easy for people to follow afterwards, which is something that here at ESA, we are definitely aware of, that we're not as good at that. And so often it can be simple. For someone who is maybe perhaps newer to it, it can often be simpler for us to link to an ARSET training than something we have in our own archive, just because the nature of having a full recording with the materials there is just easier.
We've had really great success working with you and your colleagues on including some of our content in some of the modules that you have available. Agriculture, I think there was one on wet ecosystems in the last couple of years. So we appreciate working with you.
Right.
How about you, Amy? Do you think people go to these online resources you have for?
Yes, our resources are designed for online delivery. They are designed to be self-paced for people to access at their convenience. There is no live delivery for the bulk of the deliverables we're doing currently. And we do keep track of user metrics and things like quiz completions. So we know we have very steady use. We can also track use across different language versions. We have a lot of our satellite training materials available in Spanish, French, and Portuguese, and we can look at numbers just for those translations also.
This is great. Okay, I think we have time for one more question. How do you do to promote your training? So to maximizing attendance, what are the success factors?
For us, we place it on as many calendars, online calendars that will accept us. We have long-running relationships with different groups that allow us to put our trainings in their newsletters, bounce it through their listserv. So maintaining good relationships with communications of different communications personnel of different communities is very useful. We have a listserv. We have an X account, Twitter. I'll post them on LinkedIn, anywhere and everywhere. And then we also go very targeted. So if we have a training on, tropical storms in the southeast of the United States, somebody on our team will go to every county from Brownsville, Texas to Massachusetts and try to find the disaster emergency personnel for those counties. It takes a lot of legwork, but it's worth it because it's awareness from the very beginning. First, second, and third steps are awareness, and then you start to get an appetite. That's how we do it. There are so many good questions here. I could continue this meeting for another couple hours.
Whatever.
Right? I think that, and I haven't even got to a lot of these different questions here. I look forward to the next one of these calls.
Yeah, maybe we should, if Amy and Martin, you want to add something else to this, maybe we can move to the secretariat stuff. Because you still have,
you know what, maybe I can just
like
read
10
out a
more
couple,
minutes.
maybe I can read one or two questions from the chat because there are so many good questions here. So there was one question that Bernie had about language and about while AI is presenting a lot of opportunities to translate, it's not quite there. But how much are you investing in AI, and do you see other opportunities to kind of scale training in terms of so that it's translatable and accessible to more people? Maybe Martina, you talked a lot about AI. Maybe you want to jump in on that question.
Yeah, currently we are using it to make a voice, or the native voice of our writing materials or written materials in English. So it works very well, but I guess we are testing also other languages, so we are not yet there to say something more about other languages. But what we do to translate our materials to other languages, at least in previous years, we ask our local experts to help us assist with translation or using their voice for materials. So this is how we do, but we really testing the AI capabilities right now, and hoping that it will be also working quite well, not only in English. There are some tricks, or we have already tips and tricks list. Happy also to share with you, because there are some issues with acronyms, for example, that you have to be aware to write it phonetically, for example, for AI to read it correctly. So there are some things that we already figured out, and collecting all the tricks and tips, and happy to share.
The rest of you want to comment on that, Amy or Brock or Martin?
On AI in particular, or just language?
Well, especially the language issue. I think that's really the nut of the question is how can we get better at providing more training in different languages, and maybe even what's been the success factor now and having training in different languages. Like what has been, is it just a matter of resources? So you just have to prioritize that and put money into it, or are there any tricks and tips for others on that?
I do think it's resources. I mean, I would love it if AI provided something a little bit more for us. I have found that some people will reach out and they're like, "Hey, I want to present this to my class in Arabic or something," and sure, we say, "Go for it. Here's the actual slides. Feel free and send it back to us when you're done." It's all open source. So some people volunteer, but I do think you need personnel. I haven't found a better way. So that's why we only do some in Spanish.
From ESA's side, we do a lot of stuff in different languages at a sort of school, like primary and secondary school level. And that typically relies on translators themselves. They are school teachers who help us translate. I could definitely see AI playing a role in that in the future, because for sure it's a research issue, a resource issue. It would take up a lot of man hours essentially to do it. And with AI, particularly, I would say, I mean, even in my personal life, I use what's it called? I forgot the specific name already. DeepL Translator. It's good I live in Italy. I'm not very good at Italian, and DeepL Translator lets me do pretty much anything I need to do. I have my Italian colleagues tell me that any of the text I translate using it is basically perfect and needs no notes. So translating software is definitely there, and this is freely available. At a university or professional level, we're pretty much always doing it in English, because despite the wealth of languages that exist in Europe, a lot of Earth observation work is done in English. So that's a benefit from our side and lets us kind of skirt around the issue, even though perhaps we shouldn't, and arguably should deliver more train. I guess, sorry, that's just a side note, but definitely, if we wanted to do something in specific languages, then, if we wanted to do something in French, we would work with the French Space Agency, or in German with DLR. So.
Amy, anything you want to add to that question? Because you have so many resources in different languages.
Yes, and that is a deliberate choice. COMET works with multiple sponsors, including the Meteorological Service of Canada, who requires us to produce everything in English as well as French. And so we work with our individual sponsors to prioritize which lessons should be translated and which need to be in what language to increase access. So we have a native Spanish translator on staff, and we work with native translators for French lessons, for Portuguese lessons. We have a whole group of people we can call on for there. And then all of our translations also go through reviews by experts like in different countries. So I see some people on this call, I think, that have contributed to reviewing some of our Spanish translations before they publish. Thank you all. It's interesting to hear this discussion about AI. It is something we've been exploring a bit. The most recent updates I've heard from our Spanish translator is it is far from being where it needs to be in terms of overall accuracy, but I know things evolve quickly, so we'll be keeping an eye on the trends, and it's good to hear the discussion from others in this group.
Yes. Yeah, there are many questions. Maybe we can then send to the presenters and create it like a loop.
We can take this conversation to our member platform and people can join there and have the conversations there and add. So I'll make sure everybody in the meeting, if you're not a member already, we'll send you the link again so you can join. But if for the presenters, if you have a chance to go through the chat and maybe answer some specific questions that are there in our remaining minutes, that would be fantastic.
Can we get access to this chat afterwards? Or am I able to, from my side, copy and paste or download it?
Yes.
You can try, but we can definitely share it with you as well.
Okay, that'd be great. There's some great
Yeah.
resources here.
I think we can also do the way that we usually do, that we collect the questions and then gather from you answers and then share in our follow-up note. This we can also do in a separate email communication.
Should we move to
Somebody asked about certificates. We find that they're a huge draw for people. We don't have a competency framework that I know like the WMO works out of, although we're trying to take lessons and we're trying to inch towards that in a way. With a global audience, it's kind of hard, but we say that even though a certificate, it says you completed, which means you attended all the parts and you submitted the homework. But it doesn't say you're proficient. So we're very explicit about that, but people still love it. So that is something that we always make sure to offer, because people will hunt us down if we don't get them their certificates.
Yeah, all EO College courses also finish with the certificate of participation. So we have quizzes, and at the end you can get a certificate, and it's very important. I agree. Yeah, with Brooke.
I would like to follow up a conversation with Marie on you had asked about co-production. When I mentioned that, we're not subject matter experts on our team in every subject, so we'll very often reach out or people approach us with a training topic, and then we'll work with them over the course of 8 months or so. We build them into our annual work plan, and then we start talking about dates, start talking about the topics, start talking about the agenda. Everybody starts contributing and looking at the learning objectives and how we're going to evaluate that and who's going to speak. And so co-teaching and development of the curriculum is something that we very commonly do. And you mentioned, does it require funding? Can you expand upon what you meant by that? Like, do we fund?
You know what, Mary actually had to drop off.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, she had to drop off, but I took notes, Brock, and I'll make sure she gets the answer.
Okay.
She had a lot of questions there. She said at the beginning that she was planning something similar at NOAA, or kind of a sharing of training. So she had a lot of questions. So definitely we'll get back to her on that.
And the CIAS Coast Initiative. I mean, we're always looking for a way. Here's a topic I would love to talk about, and it made me think of something from a WGCAPD meeting this week. So what is the timing and how, when you're developing your work plans for your fiscal year, or how does that work? So we know when to start conversations with other groups to partner and possibly put on trainings together. So if there's a way for us to compare and contrast the timelines in which we develop and deliver these trainings and the variety of formats, I would love to know more, because I kind of struggle to get us included in WGCAPD deliverables, because they have to have 2 space agencies, and the way we do our development of our work plan every year doesn't always match up for the opportunities to arise. So I would love to find out more about the timing in which these different capacity building groups plan their work.
That's an idea. Maybe EOTEC could organize a meeting of the training providers globally and would just have a forum where everybody could sort of share their calendars and their planning processes so we could promote those connections.
Yeah, just an awareness, using the Jamboard. I don't know. I struggle to find when to start some of these conversations. So yeah, that'd be great.